next 2 days. It'll be Christmas. So, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Compliments of the season to you. Welcome to Estic Media right here on YouTube. Please, I would implore you to subscribe, like, and share. We have intellectual, edifiable conversation right here on Estic Media, and we get to update you on happenings across the globe, specifically what is going on in your environment. We update you and we help provide insight into what you may know or what you may not really have a proper concept about. So we try to educate ourselves on this platform. So I would implore you to like, click the subscribe button, and actually share. So there's a prayer point, or rather, what I say is saying I want us to adopt. Anybody who is supposedly a leader that has decided, especially in this country, that has decided that the people they lead will suffer, may they suffer in whatever form. That's one. Two, any Nigerian who takes it upon themselves, right, to cheat, to sideline, to deceive, because maybe the other person does not have advantage like them, whatever comes to them, let karma deal with them, and let karma be swift, fast, and sweet. That's basically the kind of suggestion I'm suggesting right now, or would I say the mantra I would implore us to adopt. Because we've gotten at a stage in this country where we have leaders who take us for granted, like seriously take us for granted. They don't care. There is this nonchalancy. It's none of their business what Nigerians are going through. It's not their concern what we face. Nothing bothers them about our source of living, our source of livelihood. They wake up in the morning, think of how they would tax Nigerians to make money for themselves, to line up their pocket. And it's so disheartening that this is a situation we have found ourselves. It's terrible as well that we have a lot of Nigerians who support this. You guys, let me tell you something. There are some Nigerians that support evil just because the person is their tribesman. That is how bad it is. Because the person is a tribesman, they don't think they need to call out the evil of that person. So anybody who is saying anything otherwise, the person is quashed, you're quarreled, you're bullied, you're insulted, you're denigrated. It's like the system has been so polarized that Nigerians don't mind supporting what is evil. Nigerians don't mind supporting what is ill. Nigerians don't mind supporting nonsense, especially if they are getting crumbs. And I've observed something about Nigerians, right? I think a couple of people like to be subservient. They like to collect the crumbs they collect. You know, when they say slaves who love their chains will always remain in their chains, that's precisely what happens with Nigerians. Some Nigerians, not everybody. And if you go to an environment and you aspire to achieve beyond where you are currently, they would say you're overreaching. They would say you're trying to prove otherwise. They would say, who are you to come to their establishment to show that you can be better than them when every other person is living a mediocre, simple life? Then you come and say you want to live above every other person, so you would seem as if you're bigger than them. It's really petty. I wouldn't lie to you. That's it. There are some communities in Nigeria you would go. You cannot see beyond a certain lifestyle. When I'm talking about a certain lifestyle, there are some traits you will see that everybody has. Anybody that does beyond that, you may be bad, or they will do something to you that will make you become like them or worse than them. I'm telling you the truth. So it's not like they don't want to get the good life, but to them, they feel like, well, let's just live like this. This is how it has been. This is how it will always be. Nobody will come here and become something more than them. So they prefer to collect crumbs from their masters. It's this sense of servitude to them means humility. It means that they don't want to live above their means. It means that they're content. So they rather stay the way they are. And anybody who has issues with it, the person can leave their environment, the person can leave their community. It's not their business, but this is how their life is here. So if you come and judge them by telling them why can't they aspire beyond their present circumstances, you are seen like somebody who is either speaking out of point or you're overreaching. And before you know, you may be attacked, envy, jealousy, a lot of things. So I don't know if it applies in any other part of the world, but that is how some communities are in this part of the world. And it's really sad because the same thing translates to the kind of leadership that we have and the people that serve this leadership. So there are some Nigerians that don't mind, even if they are suffering, even if they are dying, so long as it's their person in power, they don't mind continuing to collect the crumbs. Let their person just remain there. What is making me say this? I am not surprised actually, because when it comes to leadership in this part of the world, you will be surprised, like literally be surprised as to how leadership works and their support base. So here is the thing, there's this exclusive from People's Gazette. And I don't know if a couple of you have heard about it. The exclusive indicates that Nigerian senators on Friday received $50,000, while their counterparts at the House of Representatives collected $30,000 in bribe for stalling a planned protest to halt the passing of the 2026 budget and disgrace President Bola Ahmed Tinubu due to long-standing grievances over funding for constituency projects, citing discriminatory treatment between the National Assembly and the leadership, that is, between the National Assembly leadership and its members. Okay, so the funds were distributed through the leaders of caucuses from each of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The Gazette had earlier reported that Nigerian lawmakers had actually threatened to disrupt proceedings and stall the budget presentation, mainly due to what they tagged as Mr. Tinubu's government's failure to adequately implement the 2025 budget. You all can recall that the Minister of Finance was invited to give a breakdown on how the budget was utilized for 2025. And the only accountability we heard was more of deficit than revenue. We could only generate 10.7 trillion naira, expended 20 point something trillion naira from the 2025 budget. And that's not the only thing. The estimated budget, there was no money to finance it. So the question Nigerians were asking was, the 20 trillion naira that was used as expenditure, if they could only generate 10 trillion naira, where did they get the money from? And what is the accountability? What were the projects that they did with that money? What were the aspects that they made expenditures? Is it for the president's travels? Is it for their own trips? What projects did they do? What policy did they implement that required money? So what is the breakdown of how that budget was utilized? Serap has sued the presidency that they must give Nigerians the breakdown of how the 2025 budget was utilized, how it was spent. Until then, the government needs to be accountable to the people. So because of that, the lawmakers were actually saying that the failure of the Nigerian government to adequately implement the 2025 budget, they were going to protest, possibly disgrace the president. If you can remember, during Bukola Saraki's tenure as the Senate president, when Buhari wanted to present the budget at the National Assembly, because then we had a very viable, strong opposition, and Bukola Saraki's leadership was not in favor of the presidency. They were at loggerheads, they were not together. Guess what happened? They booed former President Muhammadu Buhari when he came to the National Assembly to present the budget. It was quite dramatic. At that time, people looked forward to events at the National Assembly because things were not just quiet and smooth. There was always drama. And that was where we saw, even if we knew it was for selfish interest, but we saw checks and balances in a sort of, between the executive and the legislature. The executive couldn't just pass demand for anything without the legislature questioning what they needed that money for, or why they needed the legislature to approve it. That was when we had something a little bit quite vibrant. Unfortunately, the second tenure of late Muhammadu Buhari, we saw Ahmed Lawan actually emerge. And since then, they were termed as a rubber stamp National Assembly, because anything Buhari wanted, they consented to it. Anything Buhari needed, they consented to it. The House would pass it. Nobody would question it. Nobody would say anything. And it has continued into this dispensation with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Anything he wants, God will will assent to it. In fact, if you go against it, you may actually be bullied or silenced. Not even now that you have majority in the House who are APC members. So if you're in an opposition and they say anybody in agreement or not in agreement, yay or nay, you have more of the yay than the nay. So the opposition is in severe minority. So in other words, anybody who has any dispute with anything the presidency wants will not even be considered. So the president will always have his way. Currently now, with the way the National Assembly is, with the way the Red Chamber is, all right, the president will have his way with anything he wants. In fact, the Green Chamber is even seen to be a little bit better, because they're actually discussing discuss issues sometimes that affect the people that they represent in their constituencies. But you see the House of Reps as a red chamber, they don't care. They don't, it's not their business. Whatever the president wants, they assent to it. Questions are not asked. If you do try to ask questions, prayers will be sent to your account. So what the senators want is just basically to line up their pockets. So it's also important for you Nigerians that in the next election cycle, you think wisely. You make sure that you elect persons that have your interest at heart, because where we are right now, I don't think we're heading the right direction. Nigerians are really suffering, and those people don't care. You see the way I'm smiling? That's how we're coping. We're smiling and suffering. That's how bad it is. Okay, so here is the situation. Let me continue. Now, basically, what happened? The lawmakers made a decision during a chaotic meeting between legislators, Finance Minister Wale Edu, and Budget Minister Abubakar Bagudu at the National Assembly, where members led by Ahmed Wase clashed with the leadership of the two chambers over unfair payment plans. Federal Inland Revenue Service Chairman Zach Adedeji was also present at the meeting. Now, lawmakers present at the meeting last week, Tuesday, disclosed to this particular publication outlet, that's People's Gazette, that the situation began when the Tinubu government agreed to release 850 billion naira for constituency project payment to legislators under mounting pressure. Please, I want you to pay close attention and continue to listen. However, things escalated immediately after the appropriation committee of both, that's appropriation committee for both the Senate and the House of Representatives decided that ordinary members would receive only 30% of the funds for their projects, while leaders of both chambers would have full access to their salaries. Now, on Friday, the leadership of the bicameral legislature received calls from the presidency few hours before the commencement of proceedings for the budget presentation by Mr. Tinubu, urging them to plead with the aggrieved lawmakers with a promise of financial inducement. I don't know if you guys can remember in 2023 when the president was campaigning. If you can recall, the president during that campaign period said something. He said it is his turn. And beyond that, he also said that nobody gave him the money. Like most of the people he lobbied, spoke with, that showed support either from the north, hugely from the north, he gave them money. It was his money or taxpayers' money thereabout, whichever way you want to describe it, because we know the president has a lot of companies in Nigeria, Alpha, Beta, Wando. These are his companies, like a lot of companies. The Lekki Concession Company, president has a share. The Eco Atlantic, that's the president's own. So many projects. The Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway connects directly to the Eco Atlantic. That's where you have TVC, you have his radio stations there, a lot Yanga FM. These are all the president's media outlets. He owns the Nation newspaper. He owns large hectares of lands. Most properties in Lagos, he owns it, or he's a co-owner. So that's why they call him, Jagaban Borgo. He owns most businesses here. You'll be so shocked that most outlets, most Tejiosho market, the president owns it. He's a major shareholder of that Tejiosho market at Yaba in Lagos. The president owns a lot of properties. You'll be so shocked that even refineries that the president has, he's involved in a lot of conglomerate businesses and construction companies. Like literally, president has money that his generations to come. And if Christ hasn't arrived before then, they would never lack money in their lives. Like even after the president's electoral cycle, after this next 4 years, the president can solely on his own sponsor a candidate to be a president. He will not borrow money from anybody. And that's how rich President Tinubu is. President Tinubu is the richest Black African president. He's worth almost more than 10 trillion naira. That's how rich he is. He just looks quiet and simple, but he has money. He has streams of businesses, chain stores like you can never imagine, both here and outside the country. So a lot of people underestimate him. Do not underestimate him, because he knows that some people are greedy. He knows that some people are selfish. All he needs to do is to dole out money, and they don't dole out in naira. They dole out in dollars. And whenever it comes to this kind of thing, they don't dole it out to fire bank accounts. No, that is why we're complaining about this tax. Because most of these politicians, they don't deal with cash. They don't deal with accounts. It's cash, raw cash. Like, I'm not kidding you. You'll be so shocked. They deal with raw cash, absolute raw cash. The reason why is that you cannot trace raw cash. You can't trace it. Most of their properties, most of them try to invest the money in properties. You see lots of buildings that are so opulent and magnificent, majestic. They have rooms there where they store raw cash. And most of that money is not in Naira because, Naira could be quite burdensome. It's in dollars or in some instances, pounds. I say the kind of money our politicians have, the kind of businesses they have in the United States of America, their senators don't have that kind of money. They will account for it. How dare you have such amount of money? Who gave you that money? You will disclose basically how you got that amount of money within your disposition. You would tell them how that money, you would declare your assets. When I mean your assets, to the minutest of it, you would declare it. Even in the UK, you remember former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. You recall that one of the things that actually made them put him away was because of COVID, when they said he hosted parties and they asked him, you're hosting parties when people were meant to be doing social distancing. Where did you even get the money to do that? You guys, Nigeria, we are blessed in Jesus' name, and definitely not going to say anything otherwise. But it's disheartening where we have found ourselves. It's so bad, the level of corruption. And that is why you see any ordinary Nigerian who has an opportunity to enter politics or to be in politics, they would decide to acquire all they can acquire because they know that power is transient. So let's continue the conversation. You remember when Akpabio said, don't worry, prayers will be sent to your account. This is how it does. But the prayer that is going to be sent is not going to be through the banks. It's going to be through cash, and it's usually doled out in dollars. Okay, so now let me continue. Things escalated immediately after the appropriation committees for both the Senate and the House of Representatives decided that ordinary members would receive only 30% of the funds for their projects, while leaders of both chambers would have full access to their shares. Meanwhile, sources disclosed to this publication, that's the People's Gazette, on Friday, that the leadership of the bicameral legislature received calls from the presidency few hours before the commencement of proceedings for the budget presentation by Mr. Tinubu, urging them to plead with the aggrieved lawmakers with the promise of financial inducement. Mr. Tinubu, who then arrived at the National Assembly complex at about 3 p.m. on Friday, presented a proposed 54.46 trillion naira budget appropriation bill for the 2026 fiscal year before a joint session of the Senate and House of Representatives. Now, the president was in company with his vice, Kashim Shettima, chief of staff to the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, secretary to the government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, ministers, and some governors, amongst others. 5 members of the House of Representatives confirmed to this Gazette, that's People's Gazette, that each of their colleagues received $30,000 minutes after the president concluded the presentation of the 2026 budget. 4 senators who spoke with that particular outlet or news publication also confirmed the development. They noted that they and their colleagues received $50,000 each for canceling the planned protest. Una de here. So when you people think the people you have at the National Assembly cares for you, they don't send your papa or they don't care. Maybe very few do, but it's obvious what it entails, what takes place. So here it is again. 2 senators, however, said they received less than $50,000, while 2 House of Representative members denied receiving the money. However, an aide of the House of Rep member who denied it confirmed that his boss received $30,000. According to the lawmakers, no one received money until the president was done presenting the budget, but they started receiving the money in cash immediately after Mr. Tinubu had finished presenting the budget. Do you know how many House of Rep members that we have and how many senators that are there? That's both the red and the green chamber. Did you watch that live budget presentation in that house? For each of them to be given, the leadership were given $50,000 and the lawmakers were given $30,000 from one person, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Just imagine where that money is coming from, all in dollars. Even the US know they don't dispense money like that. Like that money, no today, will be say dollars just they roll like water. Day. We are indeed a special country. So, well, this is what the lawmakers said. They said the money was a Christmas gift. The money was a Christmas gift from the president to the honorables. A lawmaker also disclosed that Christmas is the season to collect gifts, even from the president. So they don't see anything wrong with it. This is the Christmas season, and this is the time for gifts to be collected. So anyone who is not, who wants to say anything they want to say, is their business, because at this point in time, that is when they also make their money. You guys, that money that was actually given to the senators and lawmaker, they will collect it via tax. So that is why my question is this. Please, how would the FIRS, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, collect monies from these politicians? Anyways, they have several bank accounts. You know that Malami actually has issues right now. We heard that Malami has over 40 bank accounts. So a couple of these lawmakers do, or either they do or they just have limited bank accounts. They'll just put some monies there, not for anything. So it doesn't seem as if they're not making adequate transactions or sending money or, going about any form of banking activity. But the main money is in cash. The main money is not in the bank. It has no bank transaction. It's pure, raw, clean, mint bundle in their homes. And whenever you see them with those bags that looks like a, what do you call it, a briefcase, na money dey inside. Ego dia money na water. Money dey, my people, there's money in this country. God should just bless us. There is money in this country, but as God is blessing us, we should not get our own blessing via dubious means. But these people think they've put us inside bottle and covered us to cook and perish and die. No way, it won't happen. It will not happen. So Nigerians, during the 2027 elections, if you like, collect moths and gala to eat and let them buy your votes. Or if you like, collect 5,000 naira, 2,000 naira in some instances to vote some political parties, because all of us now we go suffer together. You see this boat where we enter, all of us stay inside. Most of the cash that you're seeing that is not in transmission right now is being hoarded and kept for 2027. Don't worry, by next year, money will start coming out. Money will start coming out. All the politicians that are hoarding the money, they will start releasing it small. Campaign don't start big time. Didn't you hear? Rotimi Amici, we're beginning to see campaign banners, presidential ambition banners. We're beginning to see them. Campaign don't start. For corruption to be absolutely rooted out in this country, it will take a massive overhaul of the system. This one is beyond protest. What happened in Nepal and Kenya, Nubia? In fact, in Kenya, you could see that somehow it's like the protests worked. It showed the government that the people cannot be taken as dumbass. Like that is, you cannot think that they are ignorant or take them for granted. Nepal, they destroyed a lot of their public infrastructure. They're suffering the consequences of it. But the leadership there right now, I think they will think twice before they think of treating the people anyhow. As for Nigeria, maybe because we've experienced the civil war and that is a process no one wants to go through anymore. So I think we decided to become docile. We decided to become quiet. So long as we are going about our day-to-day activities and nothing is disrupting it, we always modify. We always adjust the system. So you'll be so shocked that those who complain, by next year, they will adjust. They really know how to adjust. Nigerians are absolutely good in adjusting. They would adjust to the system, adjust to the process, work along with it. And that is why your leadership always feels that, do it, nothing will happen. They will adjust. Do it. They will adjust. They will test you. You will rant on social media. You will complain. You will hold spaces. You will cry. Boo-hoo. Nothing will happen. Nothing will absolutely take place. They will do what they want to do, and you have no choice but to adhere to what they want to do. That is the kind of government we operate. It's a government of impunity. It's a government that lacks empathy. It's a government that refuses to care about the people. The president's aide was telling us that there is no poverty in Nigeria. He went on national television to say there's no poverty in Nigeria, that the problem with Nigerians is that they don't like to pay tax. Do you know how many things Nigerians are taxed on? If you want to travel right now, go to the airports. You're taxed on your ticket. You're taxed on everything that the airplane is going to do for you. Even the meals you're eating, there is value added tax. So for you guys that don't pay conscious recognition to most of the monies, most of the expenses you make, where you get receipts and you see VAT applied, you better start keeping receipts. Because it's going to be an interesting 2026. Trust me. Because these persons, they have their dollars. They will share amongst themselves. It's I and you that will continue to toil. We will toil and toil and toil and remit to the government. The government will tell you that it's for healthcare services, it's to build the infrastructures, it's to provide good water, it's to provide electricity, it's for you to enjoy social amenities, but they will not tell you precisely where they spent the money on. They won't tell you when they spent that money. They won't give you a financial breakdown of how those monies were spent. And they will just come back and give you some financial statistics. Yeah, that's how it works in this part of the world. That's the kind of governance that will operate. Isn't it interesting? We have a beautiful, marvelous country. I love Nigeria. It's a beautiful country. Why would anybody be surprised with what is developing right now? Why should anybody be shocked? It's an interesting episode, an interesting ride that Nigerians will roll in from now up until 2027. Until then, I'll just say good luck to us. I would like to know what you think in the comment section. Please, nothing personal. I'm just reading out what is happening based on my own experiences as well so far. I don't know about your experience, because there's some people who are actually benefiting from the government, some people who don't feel what we're feeling. You cannot blame them. All hands are not equal, and everybody's orientation and experience is different. So if they're doing okay, and they actually like what is going on, please don't berate them. Don't insult them. It's just life. That's how life is. All right. But I would like to know in the comment section what you think and what your own recommendation will be. At one point in time, what do you think Nigerians will do? As usual, adjust, right? Okay. Do have yourself an amazing day. See you next time.